Ready to go? Okay, I'd like to welcome everybody to the Township of Adelaide Metcalfe's first official meeting for this term, 2022. We're going to call the meeting to order. It's 6 p.m. on December the 12th. I'd also like to take a moment, if everybody could push their button around the circle here and introduce yourselves. I don't know if it'll go. So we've got Mike Brody, there's Morgan beside me here, and Mike Brody, a returning counselor, and then beside him, Aaron Nordoff, a counselor. And then we're on a little past there, just everybody patient with the family crew. Can't hear me. So we've got Johnny Pereira, Coulter Cahill, and Dan Parker. And then going the other way, we have our clerk, Mike Barnier, and Garrett Kingma. Is he over there? Did we get him? Yeah, wave Garrett. There you go. He's over there somewhere on the side. Okay, that's great. Thanks, everybody. We had a heavy agenda of 517 pages, so baptism by fire, and thanks everybody for showing up and reading all that material tonight. First off, is there any declaration of pecuniary interest and general nature thereof? Garrett?
I would like to declare a conflict on item 7G concerning the council grants program. I co-authored the application that's being recommended by staff. I will refrain from comment and vote.
Great, thank you. So that's noted. The minutes of the previous meeting from November the 7th, 2022, it's recommended that the minutes of the Adelaide Metcalfe Council held on November 7th, 2022 be adopted as printed. Could I have a mover? Moved by Mike Brody, a seconder. Seconded by Garrett Kingma. All those in favor? Carried. There was also an inaugural meeting on November 21st, 2021. And could I have a motion to accept the minutes of that council meeting? Be adopted as printed. Moved by Aaron Nordoff. Seconded by Garrett Kingma. All those in favor? Thank you. So we're going to move around a little bit. We have a delegation for Committee of Adjustments at 7. So we are going to move to number 6A, correspondence, upcoming conferences and seminars. We're proposing that there is a Adelaide Metcalfe Council meeting on Wednesday, January the 11th at 10 a.m. The second Adelaide Metcalfe Council meeting Monday, January 16th at 7. That'll be for planning draft budget presentation. And the third upcoming conference is the Rural Ontario Municipal Association, the ROMA conference from January 22nd to 24th. And we'll move into the recommended readings there. Does anyone have any questions on any of those 7 items? If not, we'll move down to 6C, action required. We have before us CC8, a resolution from the City of Stratford, funding and support for Via Rail services. Is there any discussion?
File.
Everyone's in agreement, we'll file that. Okay, thank you. Number 2, CC9, a resolution, the Township of Malahide, Federal Cannabis Act review.
Support.
Everybody's in consensus. Okay, you'd like to support that resolution? Could I have a mover? You'll move that, Garrett. A seconder? Aaron? All in favor? Thank you. Carried. CC10, a resolution, the Township of Warwick regarding the CN Railway contribution requirements under the Drainage Act.
I'd like to support that.
You would? Okay. So that's moved by Councillor McKinnon, seconded by Mike Brody. All in favor? Carried. CC 11, we have a resolution in front of us from Northumberland County for the child care workforce challenges. I'm hearing nothing, so I'll assume we'll file that. Okay. Alrighty.
We need a recommendation to file and receive
Oh,
1 through 7 for CC 1 to 7 and CC 9 and CC 11.
okay. So we need a motion to receive. Which ones do you want? 6B all the way through?
Yeah, the recommendation will be to file and receive council correspondence items 1 to 7, 8, and 11.
Okay, could I move by Counselor Brody, seconded by Counselor Nordoff. Those in favor? Carried. I'm looking at this 11.
That's
Yeah.
fine. Okay, yep.
Yeah. Okay, we'll move into the staff reports now. And I don't know, is Arnie on the call? Okay,
I am.
welcome Arnie to our meeting. I'll turn it over to you.
Thank you. And first, I'd like to, through the mayor, congratulate the council for successfully representing this term of council. If you have any questions, by all means, please reach out to myself and our staff if anything building permit related. I am here tonight to present the third quarter building permit report, and I'll provide a brief summary and then I'll go through some of the tables of my report. Generally speaking, the first 3 quarters of this year are very comparable to the 3 quarters of previous years, which is good. It's a good thing. Our numbers are very consistent with what we've seen last year, and based on the slowdown that we've seen this second half, to be consistent with last year's numbers is really a good positive thing. So I'd like to first go through some of the tables. There's 3 tables in the report that sort of summarize building division. We represent 5 municipalities for building inspections, and Adelaide Metcalfe is one of them. And table 1 is generally just a comparison of the permits that we've issued this year, the first 3 quarters in those 5 municipalities, the number of dwellings created in each of those municipalities, and the total construction value. And you'll see the total numbers this year are very similar to where we were last year. Some municipalities a bit higher, some a bit lower. Middlesex Centre, we're about 100 less. Primarily because of the downturn in housing this third quarter. Otherwise, the other 4 member municipalities are very consistent, I'd say. The second table is a bit more of a detailed breakdown of permits in Adelaide Metcalfe, just during from June to September. And again, you'll see 5 houses last year at this time and the 5 houses this year at this time, very consistent. Permit numbers very consistent. Construction value is up considerably, so that's a good thing. We got a couple major projects that have brought on construction value up, but that's sort of a summary of just where we stand compared to the previous year. The third table is again a similar comparison. We've added building permit fees that were collected this year so far and compared it to fees last year. This year we brought in over $90,000 in building permit fees. As council may know, we passed a building permit fee study this year and a new fee bylaw for building permits, and happy to say that it is fully cost recoverable. Nothing's coming from the taxpayers when it comes to building permits. It's all paid by the user. This year so far, it's been about $47,000. That's what it's cost Adelaide Metcalfe for Middlesex Centre to provide building inspection services. So with that, I'm available for any questions that council may have.
Are there any questions from council? Everybody's good? Okay, well, I guess your report was very comprehensive. That's great.
Good.
So
Okay,
we
I'm
have a
pleased.
recommend. Sorry, go ahead, Arnie.
Yeah, I'm pleased that it's acceptable, and I hope to attend with a year end sometime January or early February. I'll hopefully meet in person and present the year end statement to you.
Perfect, thank you. So we have a recommendation before us that the third quarter 2022 building activity summary be received for information. If I could have a mover, Counselor Brody. Seconder,
I'll second that.
Betty M. McKinnon. All in favor? Carried.
Thanks, Arnie.
Thank you, Arnie.
Okay.
Okay, so Mike Barnett, you're up next.
Through the mayor to members of council, the first report in front of you is just a meeting schedule for the first quarter. So we're only scheduling the first quarter meetings while we plan to take the procedural bylaw forward. We'll work with council to figure out what the best date is for council meetings, as you are in this for 4 years. So we might as well get the optimal for everybody. We could change days, time of days, day meetings to consider those type of aspects. So otherwise, a very straightforward report has on the last page the meetings that we've scheduled. If approved, you will get a calendar invites to attend. So if there's any questions, be more than happy to answer.
Does anyone have any questions? Counselor Kingma?
I'll ask a question. I need staff feedback on this, whether you would like one meeting occasionally during a daytime as a regular course of action.
So through the mayor to Councilor Kegma, that's what we will be deciding. We will be bringing pretty soon in, start canvassing council through Morgan and myself to figure out that date, and we'll bring a new procedural bylaw forward. Changing other things too, that procedural bylaw consent agenda would really help us. I would like to put it in last year, but with the changing council, we want to redo the whole thing. So
I will fight tooth and nail not to have it during the day.
and
Because
that's
I cannot attend in season, so I'll lay that out there right now.
that'll be council compromise. That's how we'll get to her, right? That's thanks for input from both of the opposite sides of that coin right now.
And I cannot make Monday, February 6th, so I mean, that's fine. Just put that in there.
Counselor McKinnon, do you have anything to add?
I'm not against having a 1-day meeting and one evening meeting. It gives the public an opportunity to attend that may not have an opportunity because of working shift work. But whatever we come up with, hopefully everyone can agree upon and find it quite palatable.
Okay, thank you. Okay, I'm sure we'll have further discussion about that later. So we have a recommendation before us that the proposed first quarter 2023 council meeting schedule be approved. Moved by Counselor Brody.
I'll second that.
Thank you. Seconded by Counselor McKinnon. All in favor? And that's carried. Thank you. Okay, Mike, you're up next for the emergency response plan and program.
Through the mayor to members of council. So this is an interesting report. Basically, as part of the legislation and annual compliance, the plan does have to be reviewed. As part of that plan, we have to have our appointments in place, and they're all submitted to Emergency Management Ontario for compliance. So previously, they were all named in the plan. So we're just trying to get away from some of that. We did have the deputy mayor removed. So now it will be a appointment of a council member, which you'll see on the later the appointment bylaws. I just did want to note that when making even some of those changes, it's a little bit like opening Pandora's box with this emergency response plan. The plan does need a little bit of care. It's been a while since it was approved. I think 2019. This iteration was approved. I know a couple of the municipalities have revised their plan, simplified it a little bit. It's really long and the flow is not the best. So we'll be looking to, with the resulting emergency program committee, to take a closer look with Aaron's help and the committee, if Aaron is appointed, to revise the plan, just to simplify it a little bit, make sure it's up to date and flows properly. There is a resulting bylaw at the end. And I did want to note, this is the public facing version of the plan. There are appendices that have the specific people's names and everything that we do keep private. So it's basically to get the appointments out of this plan proper. So if there's any questions though, I'd be happy to answer.
Any questions? Seeing none, then we have a recommendation that the amendments to the emergency response plan and bylaw attached as Appendix A be adopted as recommended. Moved by Councillor Kingma. Seconded by Councillor Brody. All in favor? Any opposed? Oh, good, that's carried. Okay, local board and committee appointments. Mike, up to you.
Okay, through the mayor to members of council, very straightforward report. These are the local boards and committees that we appoint council to. So we have the St. Clair Conservation Authority board will propose to have Councillor Betty Ann McKinnon, as she has served on the board previously. Asabo Bayfield Conservation Authority Board. So this is a different one where Middlesex Center has represented us for some time in this regard. It was a citizen appointment for I know the last 16 years, a gentleman named Bob Harvey, but due to the changes to the conservation authorities, councillors are supposed to be appointed to the conservation authorities. So in discussions with both the Asabo Bayfield Conservation Authority and Middlesex Center, we're looking to appoint Councillor Wayne Shipley of Middlesex Center. Now, there has been some discussions that some reporting back to our council in that regard. That was definitely a missing component previously. And I think Middlesex Center did not even know that they were representing Adelaide Metcalfe on that. So that's been cleared up a little bit, and we're expecting them to report back at least once per annum on that. And the Blue Water Recycling Association, we're proposing Councillor Garrett Kingma. And the one that came up is the Asabo Bayfield Maitland Valley Drinking Water Source Protection Committee, Southwest Group. So there was you can see quite a few municipalities involved in that one. So there was a lot of clerk discussion, and everyone seems to believe, and this is the previous appointee, Dave Frayne. I really didn't have too much of an issue with this appointment, as we don't have any source water protection areas, as a lot of these municipalities do, but we are in that whole source protection area without a source water. So, and then lastly, we as previously discussed, to the Emergency Management Program Committee and Control Group, we're suggesting that Councillor Aaron Nordhoff be appointed, as there is lots of experience, obviously, in emergency management and a great asset to this committee. So if there's any questions, I'd be more than happy to answer in that regard.
Are there any questions? Seeing none, we have a recommendation that the appointments noted in the report 2022 to 2026 appointment to local boards and committees and reflected in the draft council appointment bylaw attached as Appendix A be adopted as recommended. Could I have a mover? Moved by Councillor Brody. Seconded by Councillor Kingma. All in favor? That's carried.
And just to add to that, I will reach out to individual counselors to get the information. I know there are some submissions to BRA required and St. Clair, so we'll get that worked out after council.
Thank you. Okay, Johnny, our treasurer, you're up next for the operating budget to actual, item 7E.
Thank you, Mayor Clark. Through the council, we have in front of us the November 2022 operating budget to actual report. Overall spending and revenue collection looks to be on pace with the approved budget. The team has done a great job so far this year at sticking to their budgets and even trying to come in under budget. To date, we are projecting to be in a surplus position, but the recommendation is to receive the report as presented. I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Are there any questions from the council? Okay, it is a very thorough report, so thank you very much for doing that. Lots of background reading. So we have a recommendation before us that the operating budget to actual report for November 2022 be received for information. Could I have a mover?
I'll move that.
Thank you. Moved by Councillor McKinnon. Seconded by Councillor Nordoff. And all in favor? That's carried. Thank you. Okay, you're still up, Johnny. And 7F, the cost of living adjustment for 2023.
Thank you, Mayor Clark, through the council. You'll see a number of reports tonight that are more like budget input reports. So that a lot of these decisions tonight will feed into the overall budget. So when we do bring the budget draft budget forward in January, it'll be a more efficient process, as a lot of council decisions would have already been made, so we can wrap things up and hopefully turn around a quicker budget to take advantage of some of the pricings we can get with early tenders and so forth. So the first report here is the cost of living adjustment. The township undertook a review and development of the compensation program for staff in 2020 with the implementation in 2021. The previous term of council wanted to ensure the program was competitive yet balanced, and it was updated in a way to recognize challenges regarding a rural municipal attraction and retention of talented individuals. The previous term of council also reviewed the council remuneration program in 2022, and it will be implemented on January 1st, 2023. This new compensation program was reflecting the 50th percentile of the defined market comparators and included economic adjustment annually starting in 2023. Fire services has not had a formal compensation review in recent years and is slated to be completed in 2023, pending the fire services review project. All programs will be reviewed every 5 years to ensure market alignment. As part of the regular maintenance of a compensation programs, employers look to age the program each year using a cost of living factor. Historically, council used two inputs in determining the cost of living. That is the consumer price index, or known as CPI, and a desktop exercise where we're able to look at other municipalities to see what they've approved. As the township works to the well-oiled machine philosophy, we can no longer look to other municipalities to see what they're approving, as we are now completing this exercise at the same time as other municipalities or ahead of them. This is a change to the way the township used to operate, as we are now moving to be a leader where other municipalities will start looking to our township to understand what we're bringing forward. Back in 2020, when the new compensation program was introduced, the township experienced an increase to the budget when introducing the new wage grid. The goal of this annual increase is to smooth out the increases to minimize the burden when you review the grid in 5 years. This does not only help from a budget perspective, but aids in the retention and attraction of staff. Middlesex Center is the other municipality in the county that has already approved their COLA increase for the year, and that was approved at 2.5%. This was passed in September. That was before 2 large months of CPI increases that were announced. It's important to note that Middlesex Center is also reviewing their grid in early 2023. And also one I just heard of as well was Perth South. It's not included in the report, but their council just approved a cost of living increase of 5.54%. So when looking at the graph in the included report, we can see there are two lines there, one showing CPI and the other showing the annual changes to our grid. It is evident that our grid is moving further away from CPI, which is negatively affecting our competitive wages versus area municipalities. Being able to retain and attract staff is becoming increasingly challenging in the current market environment. Since municipal employment is generally a unique skill set, all municipalities are competing against each other. This creates a challenge when one municipality falls behind, as they are at risk of losing key talent. Attracting employees when the grid is not aged effectively may also cause an issue, as many individuals can be described as money motivated, especially in the recent employment market. In order to keep competitive in the municipal marketplace, it is important to focus on employee attraction and retention and continue moving the township to that well-oiled machine philosophy. With that in mind, staff is recommending aging the township's various compensation programs, that is staff, council, and fire services, by 3%. This will have a total 2023 budget impact of $34,974. The recommendation is to approve the report as presented, but I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Are there any questions from council for Johnny? Councillor Brody?
Just a comment more than anything. We really were behind before we did this compensation package, which didn't help us and didn't put us in a good position. So just as a comment, I do like this. So just maybe for a couple of years, we were really behind when it comes to compensation on employees, and it didn't put us in a great spot for a little bit. So just a comment.
Well, and everything's gone up, right? We're in a very interesting time. So any further comments or questions? Okay, seeing none, we have a recommendation that the municipal wage grid, council remuneration, and the fire services point allocation pool be adjusted by a cost of living increase of 3% for 2023 and receive pre-budget approval. Could I have a mover? Moved by Councillor Nordoff, seconded by Councillor Brody. All in favor? And that's carried. Thank you. Okay, Johnny, you're still up. 7G, Council Grants Program for 2023.
Thank you, Mayor Clark, through the council. The 2023 Council Grant Program was available to the community to apply between November 1st and November 30th. The purpose of this program is to provide municipal funds or other forms of assistance in limited amounts to community groups and organizations that warrant municipal support. This program exists to recognize the value of these groups to the well-being and growth of the community and helping to retain a strong community focus. The township did receive 3 applications this year. To ensure a fair and consistent review, all applications were graded using the application review process. All applications needed to ensure they met all eligibility criteria listed within the council grant policy and were graded accordingly. Strathroy Mills General Hospital Foundation requested $9,064 in financial assistance to purchase a new emergency department ice machine. This request was consistent with previous grants. Four Counties Health Services Foundation requested $5,000 in financial assistance to purchase patient medical equipment. Specific equipment was not indicated on the application, but the request is consistent to previous year's grants. The Kerwood Adelaide Metcalfe Optimist Club requested $5,000 in financial assistance for various community events. In addition to the financial request, in-kind contributions included the ball diamond, pavilion rentals, and the printer use for promotional purposes. All applications have been reviewed by the treasurer and CAO. Although we recognize that the hospitals play an important role in the provision of healthcare to our community, staff are recommending that grant funding be directed to community groups operating specifically in the township this year, given the significant budget pressures. As outlined in the report, if council chooses to accept the recommendation, staff will reach out to the hospitals and encourage future applications. Overall, $5,000 is recommended for the 2023 council grant applications to the Kerwood Adelaide Metcalfe Optimist Club. And the recommendation is to approve the report as presented. Happy to answer any questions.
Okay, are there any questions or comments?
Mayor Sue,
Question. Yep, Councillor McKinnon, go ahead.
yes, just a comment. All of you know that I've been involved in the Strathroy and the 4 counties hospitals for many years, but I can appreciate where the treasurer is coming from, given the circumstances of this year's budget increases that we may see. So as long as he's not saying that they will not be eligible in the future, and I'm thinking that he's saying that they will be encouraged to apply again in the future. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Thank you.
Yeah, I think you'll see as we go through different budget items tonight, there's shortfall and we're trying to focus on cost recovery in certain areas. So, yeah. So any other comments or questions? Councillor Brody?
Well, and just, this is just, we can pass the one for what's recommended. And I mean, if we do have a surplus budget and we get into a little bit, it's always a possibility.
Down the
We don't
road.
want to fill our budget too early without seeing it either.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, if seeing no more comments, we have a recommendation that the request from the Kerwood Adelaide Metcalfe Optimist Club be approved and granted pre-budget approval in the amount of $5,000 in accordance with the council grants policy. And further, that the request from Kerwood Adelaide Metcalfe Optimist Club be approved for in-kind contributions in accordance with the council grants policy. And further, that the staff be directed to prepare correspondence and issue payment to the above noted organization in January 2022. Could I have a mover? Moved by Councillor Brody. Seconded by Councillor Nordoff. All in favor? And that's carried. Thank you. Okay, the as they call it, or the Ontario Municipal Partnership Fund 2023 allocation. Johnny, I'll turn that over to you. That's item 7H.
Thank you, Mayor Clark. Through the council, the Ontario Municipal Partnership Fund is the province's main general assistance grant to municipalities. The main objectives are to recognize the challenges of northern and rural municipalities while targeting funding to those with more challenging fiscal circumstances, such as supporting areas with limited property assessment and assisting municipalities that are adjusting to year-over-year funding changes. Annually, the township receives their allocation of funds for the coming year. For 2023, the township's OMPF grant will be $314,800, which is a 15% decrease. That's approximately $55,500 from 2022. Just to note, a 1% tax rate increase here is $45,000. So that is a significant chunk. Based on the current methodology, 2024 will be the last year of decreases as the transitional assistance will no longer apply. Adelaide Metcalfe currently benefits from the province's transitional assistance, which is guaranteeing 85% of the prior year's funding allocation. This will no longer apply in 2024 as our target funding will be reached. A number of neighboring municipalities have also seen significant increases, as shown in the chart in the report. When looking at OMPF over the last 10 years, Adelaide Metcalfe has seen significant cuts to funding based on the allocation change back in 2013. At that time, Adelaide Metcalfe was receiving almost $1.7 million in OMPF funding. When that is compared to what is being received in 2023, that's an 81% decrease, or just shy of $1.3 million. Unfortunately, the shortfall has been picked up by the general tax base. Overall, $314,800 will be included in the 2023 budget. The recommendation is for the OMPF 2023 report to be received. I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Yeah, Morgan, if you want to add something, go ahead, please.
Yeah, thanks, Johnny, for that report and through you, Madam Mayor, to council. We had a delegation with the Minister of Finance in January of this year. In January of this year to talk about the OMPF funding model and its decrease and its net negative impact on the township of Adelaide Metcalfe. Unfortunately, that wasn't a very productive delegation with the Minister of Finance, and this is why, you know, seeing these decreases in our budget revenues and OMPF and partially our dependence on it, because it really feeds our operational budget. This is why it's so important that we continue to plan and drive development into our already targeted development areas like the commercial corridor. So that commercial corridor will absolutely help us fund some of these shortfalls that we will continue to see into 2024. And that's it. Thank you.
Okay, are there any other comments or questions for Johnny on this? Councillor Kingma?
This is just a comment. Maybe Johnny can follow up on this through the mayor. Are municipalities with excellent stewardship being punished?
Yeah, as far as there's a full, it's across the board. People are being impacted from OMPF. There is a methodology there. It's funny to see some municipalities that are growing, are increasing their OMPF funding, where those municipalities that see little growth and have a smaller base, like Adelaide Metcalfe, are seeing their funds decrease. But I'll leave that there.
Yeah, because even our neighbor, if you notice on that scale, theirs has gone down 14.9%. And there's been a lot of development in Strathroy. So it's a very complicated formula, that's for sure. Okay, seeing no other questions or comments, we have a recommendation before us that the Ontario Municipal Partnership Fund 2023 report be received as presented. Moved by Councillor Brody. Seconded by Councillor Kingma. All those in favor? Thank you, that's carried. Okay, moving on to 7.1, the Kerwood wastewater operating charge. And Johnny, this is you again, the guy with all the bad news. Go ahead.
Thank you, Mayor Clark, through the council. The Kerwood wastewater treatment system was built to provide sewage treatment to those residents within the boundary of Kerwood. The annual charge for operations was passed in 2014 by bylaw in the amount of $675 to recover the operational costs of the system. It is common practice in the province that we encourage a user pay model to ensure that those who benefit from the system are responsible for the full cost of its operations, not the rest of the township. It is important to also note that it may not always be financially sustainable to have full cost recovery in the system due to excessive financial burden that may be placed on the user. Since imposing the operating charge in 2014, the fee has not increased with the rising cost of inflation over the past 8 years. The Kerwood wastewater system department has been in a continuous deficit where the tax base has been subsidizing the system. Per the approved 2022 budget, the department is expected to be in a just over $55,000 deficit for the year. Future growth in Kerwood would help utilize the excess capacity and reduce the burden on the tax base. A wastewater study was planned in 2022, but this has been deferred due to the servicing dispute with Strathroy Caradoc. We would be able to realize some cost savings by doing both of these studies at the same time. In the interim, an inflationary increase of $50, bringing the annual charge to $725 is recommended. The recommendation is to approve the report as presented, but be happy to answer any questions you have.
Morgan, did you want to add something?
Sure do, Madam Mayor, thank you. So to Johnny's point, this is really a correction of an old number. We're not trying to find new monies from the folks that are participating on the system. The previous council has encouraged staff to work with developers or development so that we can maximize or optimize that Kerwood wastewater treatment plant. The more folks that we have participating on the plant, the cheaper that service is for everybody. mind you, we also have a capacity that we must reach and stay within. And we also have to work with the surrounding landowners to make that happen. So a lot of things have to come together for us to really make the system efficient and effective, but that's what we are trying to do.
I think we're trying to move in the right direction, so that's important. Are there any comments or questions for Johnny on this? Okay, seeing none, we have a recommendation that the 2023 Kerwood wastewater operating charge of $7.25 be approved. Could I have a mover? Thank you, Councillor Brody. Seconder, Councillor McKinnon. All those in favor? That's carried. Thank you. Okay, and 7J, 2023 general fees and charges. That's you again, Johnny.
Thank you, Mayor Clark, through the council. As the township continues to focus on cost recovery, reviewing the fees and charges bylaw on an annual basis is an extremely important exercise to ensure cost recovery is keeping up with the true cost of the services being provided. There were a number of methodologies used to determine the proposed costs, some of which include the consumer price index, cost of living, true staff time to complete services, comparisons to neighboring municipalities, and previously approved council reports and studies. A summary of the proposed charges are attached to the report with the entire fee schedule attached to the bylaw. The proposed 2023 fees and charges will come into effect on January 1st, 2023. The recommendation is to approve the report as presented. I'd be happy to answer any questions you may have.
Okay, are there any questions before I take any? I'd just like to comment that Johnny put a lot of work into that report, and I think it's important to realize that it makes us align a lot closer to our neighbors, that we're playing on a level playing field now to some extent. So having said that, are there any questions or comments? Councillor Brody?
Yeah, just a comment, like just comparing the fees, like, you know, everything's up a little bit, but there isn't any very drastic. So again, I think, you know, we're not asking anything outrageous here. Seems to be okay with me.
Yeah, and I think it's important to review this every little while, like 3 to 5 years or something, so that we're not so far behind that it's sticker shock, to your point, Councillor Brody. Any other comments? Councillor Nordoff?
So this is like the fees for services.
Through Mayor Clark to Councillor Nordoff. Yeah, so this will be our fee schedule that we refer to when we charge somebody. So it's not, we don't make up any costs or anything. We refer to this before we charge anything. So if it's not on here, we can't charge it.
So I don't see in here any fees for services provided by the fire department.
Through Mayor Clark to Councillor Nordoff. So that just refers to that there were no changes to the fire fees for 2023. So the fire fees are attached to the bylaw. So those haven't increased for 2023. They're the same costs as 2022.
And when were the last time they were reviewed? Does anyone know?
I can speak to that through the mayor. We just did the whole review, the whole fee bylaw last year, and we are going to review it on an annual basis now.
Okay.
Prior to budget, we did in consultation with Dan look over the numbers, and Dan had an opportunity to review again at this point in time. So they stay static from what we approved in 2022. We're just looking to increase a few, add a few for 2023, but it will be an annual basis because we did previously get so far behind. I think previous to that, it was 2011 when a fees and charges bylaw was passed.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, that's too long to go. I think we can all agree on that. So, okay, seeing no more questions or comments, we have a recommendation that the 2023 fees and charges be approved and the enacting fee bylaw be adopted as recommended. Moved by Councillor Kingma, seconded by Councillor Brody. All those in favor? And that's carried. Thank you. Okay, and the last one for our treasurer is the waste and recycling collection fees, 7K.
Thank you, Mayor Clerk. Through the council, on September 9th, 2021, the treasurer presented a report to council highlighting the deficit of the wheelie bin program. Part of the recommendation was to bring a report back to council with options to manage the overages. As mentioned in my earlier report, it is common practice in the province that we encourage a user pay model to ensure those who benefit from the service are responsible for the full cost of running its operations, not the rest of the township. With the wheelie bin program, all residential properties are required to participate in the program. All other property types, including farmland, have the option to participate. With the current deficit in this program, the entire tax base is subsidizing it, even though they may not be utilizing the program. As stated on the September 9th, 2021 council report, the township did see a large increase in disposal fees as several homeowners were using other methods to dispose of their waste before this program was implemented. This is a good news story as residents were now properly disposing of their waste, but since the additional volumes of waste weren't factored into the original cost of this program, the bin charges were too low from the start. In addition, the township does pay a slight premium for waste and recycling collection due to the rural landscape of the township. And to contribute to the deficit, the township received communication from Blue Water Recycling Association that the fees were increasing in 2023 as outlined in the report. Based on the 2023 projections, without any changes to the bin rates, we're looking at a loss of just shy of $122,000 for this program for the year. Also shown in the report, we are seeing year-over-year deficit also increasing, which is placing an additional burden on the tax base who may not be using the program. As recommended by council on the September 9th council meeting, staff contacted neighboring municipalities in the county to understand what their bin rates were. In this exercise, we also want to understand if they were close to cost recovery as well. As shown in the report, Strathroy, Caradoc, and Thames Centre are at cost recovery, and Middlesex Centre and Lucan Biddulph are very close. After surveying our neighboring municipalities, it's quite clear that our fees were priced too low. To decrease the burden on the general tax base, I am recommending that we align our wheelie bins to the following. So adjusting our small bin to $120 from $100, our medium bin going to $170 from $140, and our large bin going to $225 from $185. So by doing so, we will be able to collect an additional $25,950, bringing the overall deficit to $95,864. As we hope to shift to the producer pay recycling in 2024, which BRA is looking after on our behalf, this will allow us to be in a position to be at full cost recovery, as the current deficit after the proposed increase equates the cost of the recycling as well, which is $95,000. So the goal is by 2024 with the producer pay, we should be at full cost recovery, and that will help our tax base significantly, or the overall tax rate. So the recommendation is to approve the report as presented, but I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Are there any questions from council? Councillor Kingma?
Yeah, through the mayor to Johnny, I was looking at the comparators in Middlesex County. There's quite a interval leap between the medium and large. Can we not be more aggressive on that front as well?
Yes, so some of the larger municipalities, and this is just, I'm assuming, they probably have more resources in place to review these fees more often, do the analysis and bring those increases forward. It was interesting to see Lucan Biddulph. Their small, medium, large bins are priced pretty low, but they also charge for recycling. So it's a different kind of methodology they are using there. But yeah, I think once the producer pay system comes in, we'll put the township in a good spot. But yeah, just obviously looking at managing the increases as well. Yeah, I agree. $95,000 is still a big deficit. But looking at ensuring that it's still affordable for everyone else. That's kind of where we're looking at too with the increase for the year.
And Johnny, if I can add just a little extra background, when we first went to the bin program, we only had the higher concentrated areas like Kerwood getting weekly pickup. And so we were every other week, and then COVID hit and everybody was at home and had a lot more garbage and recyclables. So then we moved to weekly pickup, and we didn't change our bins at that time. And we likely should have made some sort of adjustment, but the program was too new that we were just testing the waters at that point. So anyway, if there's no other comments or questions. Oh, Betty Ann, did you have a question? Councillor McKinnon?
No, I was just going to move the report.
Okay, that'd be great. So we've Councillor McKinnon was going to move the recommendation that the 2023 fees and charges be approved and the enacting fee bylaw be adopted as recommended. Do I have a seconder? Seconded by Councillor Brody. All in favor? Thank you. Okay. And Garrett, you will be our representative for Blue Water Recycling, so we'll be very interested to hear the information that you learn and bring back to council. We've kind of jumped around here on the agenda because we did start early given the volume of material we have to go through. So we're going to take a brief recess before we enter into a public meeting for the Committee of Adjustment. We have a couple of applications, so we're just going to take about a 7-minute recess here. Thank you. Okay, as mentioned, we had already started the council meeting and we just took a brief recess. We did start at 6. So welcome to those in the gallery to the time delegation event for the Committee of Adjustments. It's 7 p.m. And I would like to have a motion that council convene as a Committee of Adjustment for the purposes of hearing application for consent B13-2022 and applications for minor variance A05-2022 and A06-2022 at 7 p.m. Can I have a mover? Moved by Councillor Brody, seconded by Councillor Nordoff. All those in favor? That's carried. Okay, the Committee of Adjustment, the purpose of the following Committee of Adjustment and public meeting is to give the Committee of Adjustment, Council, as well as the general public, an opportunity to hear all interested parties with respect to the applications being heard this evening. The public is advised that comments expressed and written material presented are a matter of public record available for full disclosure. If a person or public body files an appeal of a decision made this evening to the Ontario Land Tribunal without having made a written submission to the committee and or council, the tribunal may dismiss the appeal. If you wish to be notified of the decision in writing, please submit a written request to the clerk. So our first application for consent is B13-200. The owner's 1058346 Ontario Inc. And that's Peter Brown. Agent Andrea Bazare from Bazare Hemrick Lawyers. And we'll start with Aaron Besh, if you're on the line there.
I am here.
Oh, there you are, up there. Sorry, I was looking in the wrong spot. Okay, take it away.
Thank you, Chair. Mike, I was wondering if I would be able to share my screen, if you don't mind, please. Thank you. There we go. So the first application before the committee this evening is for consent application B13-2022. So the purpose of this application is to sever and convey a parcel of land from the subject property to be merged with the adjacent lands known as 5686 Walker's Drive. So as you can see on the location map that I have up on the screen, the green portion is actually the lands that are to be enlarged. The red portion is what is being requested to be severed and conveyed. And then the larger agricultural property is actually the lands to be retained, and that is actually the subject lands that I'm referring to. So although I am referring quite specifically to 5686, within my report and within my presentation, keeping in mind that the subject lands truly are sort of the larger agricultural piece around it. So the owners of 5686 Walker's Drive have advised that they wish to facilitate a dwelling expansion, which requires a new and larger septic system. Due to the location of the municipal drain and geothermal system, the applicants advised there is no room on the current extent of the property to accommodate a new septic system. So the purpose of the lot addition is to obtain additional lands to construct this system. The lands itself, the lands to be conveyed and merged with the residential parcel are approximately 0.3872 hectares in size, or 0.96 acres. After the lot addition is merged with the residential piece, the property will be approximately 0.8 hectares or 1.98 acres in size. And the lands to be retained will remain roughly 41.7 hectares or 103 acres in size. The lands to be conveyed are vacant of building and structures, and it is currently in agricultural production. The brown drain runs east-west across the frontage of the residential lot, which negates a portion of the front yard from accommodating the septic system. The applicant has advised the remainder of the property contains geothermal heating beds and therefore is unable to accommodate the new system. So the applicant is proposing to extend the residential boundary west by approximately 53 meters. The new septic system would be located south of the drain adjacent to the roadway. So I have gone back and forth multiple times with the landowner's legal counsel. I did advise that there was general planning support for lot boundary adjustment due to legal or technical reasons. However, I did find that this proposal exceeded what I found to be reasonable to accommodate a new septic system. So in support of their position, the landowners at the residential piece, 5686 Walkers, retained a septic consultant, prepared a plan demonstrating how much additional land would be needed for the new septic system, and the plan was provided to planning staff for consideration. I have attached it to my report for council's or committee's consideration. The proposed septic system extends south from the dwelling and then heads southeast across the municipal drain to a large septic bed on the proposed area to be conveyed. The septic area identified by the engineer is approximately 783 square meters or 8,428 square feet in size. And the applicant is proposing to convey approximately 3,000 square meters or 0.75 acres of land in addition to what is required for the septic system, and the land is currently in agricultural production. So I don't typically go through policy and regulatory context, part of my report, but I did want to touch on several matters this evening just to support my recommendation this evening. So under the Planning Act, committees have the ability to, of course, regard should be had for these types of severances for things of provincial interest. So this has been identified in subsection 5124 of the Act. Going further into that, section 2 of the Act, the Planning Act identifies that the protection of the agricultural resources of the province is identified as a key provincial interest. Further into the provincial planning statement, policy 2.3.4.2 states that lot adjustments in prime ag areas may be permitted for legal or technical reasons. They further explain that they further explain this definition to be severances for purposes such as easements, corrections of deeds, quitclaims, and minor lot boundary adjustments, which do not result in the creation of new lots. The County of Middlesex official plan also permits minor lot boundary adjustments, provided that they do not create a separate parcel and that agricultural activities are not adversely affected. Trickling down into our Township of Adelaide Metcalfe official plan, section 2.1 of the official plan identifies that the plan establishes policies for the protection and preservation of land for agricultural purposes, including policies that restrict non-agricultural uses. And the intent of the agricultural designation is really to protect the land base for the maintenance of the economy and social fabric of the committee. Further, the township plan states that technical severances for minor lot boundary adjustments are permitted where there's no additional lot being created. Subject property is zoned general agriculture as well as the residential portion. It is also zoned general agriculture. So the application was circulated as per the requirements of the Planning Act. The township drainage superintendent advised that if the septic system is to cross the municipal drain, they had specific requirements for that, including granular backfill and to ensure that the drain won't slump or crush due to the excavation. Any damage to the municipal drain during this construction would be the responsibility of the applicant to correct. Enbridge also advised that they have service lines running in the area. If it's affected by the proposed severance, it would be the obligation of the landowner to relocate any lines based on the changing of the lot boundary lines. I have not received any comments from the public at this time. So I do find general policy support for lot addition for a new septic system, especially in the case where there's a constraint on an existing lot. So in this case, we do have the municipal drain that crosses across the residential piece. And in addition to the the municipal drain itself, they of course have a setback requirement to all septic systems. So that does negate quite a large portion of the front yard for an additional septic system. I do not find policy support for an expansion of this size that includes an additional 0.75 acres of agricultural land. The septic engineer advised that the bed would be approximately 783 square meters in size, which is far less than the acre that is proposed currently. I also have additional concerns about the line crossing the municipal drain to discharge at the proposed location. I am of the opinion that perhaps there may be alternative locations that may be more appropriate that do not require the interference of the municipal drain, nor would it require such large amount of agricultural land to be removed from production. During consultation with the landowner, I was advised that the geothermal system for the dwelling encroaches into the agricultural lands of the subject lands. However, I have not received any additional information on the location or the extent of this system. So generally, all services should be wholly contained to each individual property. So I am of the opinion that the application this evening should be deferred to evaluate possible a lot addition that would encompass not only the geothermal system, it would provide additional room for a septic system, and it would also minimize the impact on the municipal drain and the loss of agricultural land from production. So again, my recommendation this evening for committee's consideration is for deferral. Thank you, Chair.
Okay, would the applicant or their agent like to speak?
I guess.
Come on up to here, Peter. Yeah, yeah.
I just got involved in this because it was requested that Mike had to update his septic system. And he didn't have anywhere to put it. So I said, whatever has to be done, and I'm quite willing to give him property to put a septic on. He had the engineer come out and I was there, showed him where the municipal drain is, because I was there when they put it in, I'm afraid. But anyway, and we did, at the time it was muddy, and he kind of, oh, we should dig it up. I said, well, if you want to be responsible for just breaking the tile, that's fine. Well, maybe that'll be close enough. And he brought it and he drew it up. Now, his drawing, I don't see many alternatives to put it anywhere else because of the direction the drain runs through there. It isn't like it's straight across the front of the property or anything. It's going through at an angle. And he's just got enough room in front of it to put his septic system the way it is. So I don't know. I'm just willing to cooperate with whatever works. So go ahead, Mike.
Question.
Yeah, just one
Councillor
question.
Brody?
So it doesn't show on this map from the boss engineering where the geothermal loop is. Is it on the east side then?
Mike will have to explain that more.
Can you bring up that map again?
Yeah, I was wondering if it was at the back or at the, oh, it is.
So you look it through here, know what I mean?
Oh.
The bed here, and the drain like kind of comes through like this across here and kind of curves out.
Yeah, and more,
So,
a little bit more, yeah.
Yeah, a little more back, so right
Yeah.
here, so in order to get our distances, we had to kind of shift it this way. So that's kind of giving us, like, so we have to shift that way a little bit so we can clear away from this drain. So that's kind of why we was chose for there. There wasn't a lot of different engineers to get it. Boston's the only one I know of. So his limit that we need is keep even in his letter to there was 175 feet of frontage in order so we can get a little bit further this way. Like technically we could shave a little off and go right here, but then it is too close to the drain. So that's kind of why we go a little bit bigger than normal.
So show me again where the geothermal is.
So the geothermal comes out of the house and we got some loops all through here.
Okay.
Yeah.
So it's already on that
It's already
section.
in there anyways, and that's why we can't put the tank up here. On the other side of the drain. Yeah, and yeah, and here too close. Because then when we build out the house here, it's getting too close to the drain, too close to the thing, and then it's just the size of the system they require anymore. It's like It's just insane. I can put 40 grand for. Yeah. They made it so, but then when we go to ask for more land, they're like, oh, no, you can't do that. You know what I mean? It's just kind of like, you want these huge systems, but all on 1 acre, it just doesn't work anymore. And if you, especially if you want to have geothermal heat.
Yeah.
So that's not like we're trying to steal land or steal farmland. You know? And like we were saying before too, when the old house was here and the barns, we would have had that much grass anyways.
Yeah, that was all buildings.
That was all grass and buildings, and then they just, when they originally was severed off, they took more farmland off of it. So originally it would have had that much of a lot size of not farmland.
Because there used to be buildings back there, wasn't there?
Yeah.
That's what I
Yeah.
thought.
Yeah, shed.
Okay.
And maybe
buildings,
even
barn,
outside,
So,
some here.
yeah.
And it just makes the whole place look better too, to have the house more centered now. Because we had these trees and they're growing right into, like, they're gonna be going right into the house. So,
Now, Peter, I don't know if this is a fair question or not, but is there any acreage you could bring into production, like on the back
On
there?
that
If it's a
farm,
woodlot
I've
or
got
no?
other spots I'd love to.
Yeah.
Clear a little bit of ground up.
No, I'm just saying, because that's
No.
sometimes a sticking point, right?
No,
Yeah,
but
yeah.
it's over 100 acres still anyway.
Okay, okay,
It will still be over 100.
okay.
I wouldn't want to cut it down below the 100, just it's a magic number.
Yeah.
Or may tend to be someday,
Yeah.
but yeah, it will still keep the farm at over 100 acres.
Good, okay,
Just a comment through Sue.
sure.
With the geothermal, this is a very unique, to me, a very unique situation because of the drain through there. You can't touch it. You can't spend time on looking at more fees to look at it. The geothermal loop is already in that property. I mean, and it is already over the 100, it's 103 acres. Yeah. I mean, there's different lot sizes all over the township as it is. I mean, I don't have a problem with doing this on a unique situation. Basically, I think what Mike said is correct. These septic systems have just got bigger and bigger and bigger, and you can't put all that stuff on a very small property. And then the government's pushing for geothermal. They want all this stuff,
The green.
right? So for me, I have no issue with this, just because of the unique situation. I mean, it really doesn't have much of that.
Not that it matters, but I'm just thinking from a legal perspective, if you got an easement registered for or something registered for the geothermal right now?
No.
Okay. Okay. I'm just thinking of municipal liability here. Sorry, I just got that hat on right now. Okay.
No, but I always know that if he gives me a hassle about something, I can go dig a hole
Cut
where
the
it's
line.
pipe.
Yeah.
You'll get a lot more cooperative really quick.
Counselor McKinnon, Counselor Nordoff, Kingma, anybody have any comments or questions? Counselor Nordoff?
I'm with Councillor Brody on this, that it is unique. And I don't see where there is a lot of choice here, but grant them the parcel land beside the original.
Okay, looking at it as a case by case basis.
Exactly.
Okay. Anybody else have any comments or questions for the applicant? Counselor McKinnon?
Just a comment. And I'm looking at the drawing of Boss and the future drive shed. If the lot isn't allowed to become the size that has been applied for, then likely that drive shed would have trouble fitting on either side of that, the lots, would it not?
Who's the question for, Betty Ann, or?
I think that was just Boss had said it was more, he thought for that septic system there, if we ever wanted to build something else, then you would have to size it big enough is what the thing is. There's at this point, really no plans to build anything there. So we got the loop beds and everything.
Because that would be where the geothermal
Yeah.
is based on what you're telling me. Okay. 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 Counselor Kingma?
Yeah, I'm satisfied with the request of the applicant. it's very important to be accommodating to these plans, given the necessity for modernizing all these utilities and making everything functional. It takes up space, and less than 1 acre lost to a septic bed is going to have to be considered reasonable at this time.
Our clerk would like to add something here. Go ahead, Mike.
I just, the way this is going and we have prepared conditions, and you should be aware the conditions that this will be approving upon conditions, pretty standard in this regard, but certificate of consent under the Planning Act shall be given within 2 years of the date of the notice of decision. The request of the certificate of consent shall be accompanied by a written submission that details how each of the conditions of consent have been fulfilled. That the applicant's solicitor submits an undertaking to ensure that the merge takes place. That any outstanding property taxes are paid, that the severed lands will be legally merged with the abutting properties and lands known municipally as 5686 Walker's Drive, that a drainage reassessment for the subject property be conducted, if applicable, to the satisfaction of the drainage superintendent, that a preliminary survey showing the lands to be severed and the lands to be retained and the location of all buildings and structures, including their setbacks from the property lines, be submitted to the satisfaction of the township prior to being deposited at the land registry office, and that 2 paper copies and 1 digital copy of the reference plan be submitted to the satisfaction of the township.
Morgan Calvert, you can add.
I'm sorry, I typically try to stay out of these planning items, but we do run a risk having an appeal by the county based on the decision today, because we wouldn't be in conformity with the official plan, including our own. So I just wonder if there's any other type of solution that we could come to. And Aaron, you might have a suggestion that we might be able to consider tonight that allows the land to still be able to be farmed because equipment's getting pretty large now, but also can recognize the area required for the septic tank. And Aaron, maybe that's a question that you want to speak to.
Certainly, through the chair to, well, the rest of the committee. I would say that there might be a possibility to remove the portion of the property that is north of the drain that would not be required for the septic bed as proposed by Art Bosch. You know, certainly if the intent is to maintain setbacks to the drain and whatnot, certainly anything north of the drain really wouldn't be part of that system. So that could be a possibility for the committee to consider if they wish.
No,
Would that not be quite small? Like, you're not gonna be able to turn a tractor around on that, are you? Like, you're trying the front of the lot? Oh, the back, I'm sorry. Okay, Councillor Brody. go ahead.
Just a comment with that. You know, I've seen some of these other ones before, and then the planning committees don't like an odd shaped lot. So then now you're just gonna make an odd shaped lot to only, you're parting hairs on what would that be? 0.2 of an acre or 0.4 of an acre? I mean, with the size of equipment these days, you can't even turn around and make that work right. Like, so again, I mean, maybe we haven't, there's a chance that the county might appeal it if that's what Morgan says, but you know, in one breath, the county they want it square, right? And they'll fight us on if we have a weird angle because of a well or a tree, and then now they'll say, well, now we don't want it square because we could shave off a little back, but you can't really shave off hardly back because the major issue here is the drain, the angle of the drain. So that's not the fault of the applicants in my mind. I mean, we just have a unique situation.
Yeah, okay. I think what I'm hearing is that the Committee of Adjustments would like to support the application. So what I would ask for now is a motion to approve the application as presented by the applicant. That's moved by Councillor Brody. Yeah, with the conditions of sure, of course. And a seconder, Counselor Nordoff. All those in favor? Any opposed? That's carried. Alrighty, thanks. Yeah, thanks, Michael. All right, our second application is for a minor variance A 05-2022 and A 06-2022. The owner's Floyd Unger, and then the agent is Larry McDonald, and the property is 27811 Havelock Street in Kerwood. So, Erin, I'll turn that over to you. Thank you.
Thank you, Chair. So the next application before committee this evening, the purpose of the minor variance is to seek relief from section 10.2 of the zoning bylaw to permit a lot coverage of 35% for lots 8 and 9 of registered plans 33R 18140, whereas the bylaw permits a maximum of 30% in the VR zone. So I'm just going to share my screen here so we can see the location map. So I have identified on the plan, so lot 8 and lot 9 are the combined sort of subject lands this evening. So the application also requests to recognize a lot area of 800 square meters for each of lot 8 and lot 9, whereas the minimum lot area of 1,200 square meters is required in the VR zone. So the application will permit the separation of these lots, which have merged due to common ownership. The applicant's agent has demonstrated that the two lots were originally created through a planning process. Therefore, the consent application is not required to separate them once more. So the lands are located on the west side of Havelock Street, just south of Adele Street in Kerwood. They are currently vacant of buildings and structures. However, they do have a sanitary line that runs through lot 8, from Havelock through lot 8 to the dwelling at 27811 Havelock Street. Further to this, there is the driveway to this dwelling, which cuts across lot 9 at this corner up here. So we do have two sort of items from the dwelling that are encroaching onto these lands currently. So as indicated, the lots have been demonstrated to exist and can be legally conveyed without the consent application. Once separated, the lots will be approximately 809 square meters in size with 20 meters of frontage on Havelock Street each. Each lot will require an individual sanitary connection and a private well. Again, through this application, the agent has requested an increase to the maximum lot coverage from 30 to 35%, which would allow for construction of a larger dwelling than what is currently permitted. So about 280 square meters versus 240 square meters at the 30%. The agent has also requested to recognize the deficient lot area of each lot. So the lands are within the Kerwood community area and further within the residential use designation in the Adelaide Metcalfe official plan. The subject lands are within the village residential VR zone of the zoning bylaw. So section 45 of the Planning Act allows the municipality to grant a minor variance based on the 4 tests of minor variance. I have completed my analysis and included that within the report for committee's consideration this evening. I am satisfied that the 4 tests of minor variance have been set. The application was circulated to the prescribed agencies and surrounding land owners. The township drainage superintendent advised that the properties will require a drainage reassessment apportionment to the Kerwood drain and branches of the Kerwood drain. The public works manager advised of capacity within the Kerwood sanitary service and that the driveway across lot 9 will need to be relocated. He also indicated that he has received drawings and some engineering work from the applicant, the applicant's agent rather. So that process is underway for the relocation of the sanitary line. And the county safety and standards officer provided several comments related to addressing of the 2 lots. Currently, they do not have 911 municipal addressing, so he is requesting that those be assigned to each of the lots. He also requests that temporary signage be posted during all stages of construction just to assist with emergency services should anything arise. St. Clair Region Conservation Authority also advised of no concerns. So my recommendation this evening is for minor variance A05 and A06 to be granted, subject to 3 conditions. I have included these 3 conditions. We don't always add conditions on minor variance applications, but we certainly do have permission through the Planning Act to do so. In this case, because we do not require a consent application, I think it's prudent to have these conditions so that we can ensure that the sanitary line is relocated, as well as the driveway for the adjacent property. Further, that municipal 911 addresses be assigned to the subject lands to the satisfaction of the township. Thank you, Chair.
Okay, so I don't know if they're on the line, but do either Larry or Jennifer have anything they'd like to add to their application?
Yeah.
Yep.
Yes, hi, it's Larry McDonald. The report was very thorough, so I don't have much to add to it, but I'm certainly here, can answer any questions the committee may have.
Are there any questions for the applicant? Councillor Brody?
Through Mayor Clark, I have no problem with the lot 8 and lot 9 or whatever that's the numbers here. My only concern is as long as we're not getting in the way of future. On the north side of lot line, does that, give enough room for a street allowance and then get a laneway into 27811? That is my only concern is, are we hindering something for future?
No, we've actually are working on a plan. We own 5 acres. We purchased 5 acres in behind this property. And the land to the north does accommodate a road. It's 66 feet wide. And we're just in the midst of trying to assemble a bit more land from surrounding farms, just to try to make a comprehensive development here.
Okay, thank you.
Just one more comment. Actually, I can see that now. I can see the lot line on 1709, and it aligns right up, and Adele Street is there. So I can see that there is enough room now.
Yep.
Good. And I think that's in keeping with where we're trying to encourage development in that area too, to help our tax base. So any questions, any other questions or comments for the applicant or for Aaron? If not, we have a recommendation before us that the application for minor variance A05 2022 and A06 2022 be granted, subject to the conditions that were already laid out by Aaron. The 3 conditions, the one regarding the sanitary line, the existing driveway, and the municipal 911 address. Could I have a mover? Moved by Councillor Nordoff. Seconded by Councillor Brody. Those in favor? Carried. Thank you. Thank you, Jennifer and Larry.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, I now need a motion for the Committee of Adjustment to adjourn. Moved by Councillor Brody. Seconded by Councillor McKinnon. All those in favor? And that's carried. So now we're going to, it is 7:35. I need a motion that council convene into a public meeting to hear the application for official plan amendment number 15. And once again, that's at 7, I guess my watch is fast, 7:33 actually. Okay, and Aaron?
Need to pass.
Oh, I didn't take them off.
No.
Oh. Who moved it?
Seconded.
Oh, sorry, I'm out to lunch here. Moved by Councillor Brody, seconded by Councillor Kingma. All those in favor? Carried, thank you. Trying to rush things, I guess. Okay, Aaron, I think you're up for this municipal initiated official plan housekeeping amendment. Then Abby as well.
So I'm actually going to take this one. So thank you for that. The purpose of this housekeeping amendment is to update the township's official plan to implement up-to-date policies as a result of recent legislative changes. The effect of this housekeeping amendment is to implement and update complete application requirements for certain Planning Act applications as outlined in my report. This amendment is a result of Bill 109, the More Homes for Everyone Act 2022. So Bill 109 made several amendments to the Planning Act, which focus on streamlining the municipal decision-making process, including imposing the requirement starting January 1st, 2023, to refund certain planning application fees where decision timelines are not achieved in a timely fashion. A significant change within Bill 109 is how site plan control is implemented. So as council may recall, all municipal councils were required to delegate site plan control decisions to staff for all applications received on or after July 1st, 2022. The site plan application decision-making timeline as of January 1st, 2023 will be extended from the current 30-day time period to 60 days, which means that an applicant can appeal a municipality's failure to approve their site plan application to the OLT beginning 60 days after the application was deemed complete. So another change is that the Act now provides for the inclusion of complete application requirements within official plans for site plan applications, similar to current complete application requirements for other types of applications under the Act. A landowner has recourse if the municipality fails to deem an application for site plan approval complete within 30 days of it being submitted, unless the official plan contains prescribed information and material that could be required as part of a complete application for site plan approval, which essentially provides township staff the opportunity to pause the clock in the absence of any required materials. So the basic provisions of complete application requirements for site plans are currently included in Section 41 of the Planning Act, as outlined in my report. However, for the majority of site plan applications, municipalities generally require additional information and reports or studies that address matters including but not limited to grading, traffic studies, noise and vibration studies, as well as servicing studies. So staff are therefore recommending the addition of a new section in the township's official plan containing complete application requirements that address the following: planning matters, environmental and natural matters, transportation matters, financial and market impact assessment matters, nuisance and hazard matters, as well as the requirement for peer review at the applicant's expense where applicable. So in all, the purpose of this amendment is to implement the provisions of the Planning Act associated with Bill 109 within the township's official plan. This amendment will conform to recent changes to the Planning Act and provide clarity as it relates to complete application requirements for certain applications made under the Planning Act, which will ultimately improve the development application processes by the township. So in terms of consultation, there were no agency or public comments received prior to the preparation of my report. So based on the foregoing, it is my recommendation, Your Honor, that official plan amendment number 15 to implement policies as a result of recent legislative changes to the Planning Act be adopted and forwarded to the County of Middlesex for consideration of approval. Thank you.
Are there any questions or comments for Abby? Seeing none, Abby, you did a great job. Sorry. Garrett, Councillor Kingma.
Thank you, Mayor Sue. Yeah, if either Abby or Aaron could comment on this, I'm curious about the phrase "pause the clock." Would we ever need to do that if all the materials were front end or front loaded and completely submitted? In theory, we shouldn't need to pause the clock, but maybe you could add to that comment.
So thanks for that. Aaron, I think you could probably speak to this better than I could because you are in the trenches.
Certainly. So through the chairs or through the mayor to Councillor Kingsma, I think the wording "pause the clock" was really just to emphasize that the township will not be initiating a fulsome review of the application until we have received all of the items that have been identified through the pre-consultation. So it's really just to ensure that we do get those full 60 days as part of the review. So with the OPA going forward the way that it is, we have very strictly outlined what can be considered part of a complete application, what the township can ask for as part of the site plan approval process. In the past, we have received applications sort of in a piecemeal fashion. So we're really trying to ensure that we're front-ending as much of this process as we can to ensure that once we do start, we issue that complete application notice, we have the full 60 days and we can do a better job, a better review with all of the appropriate studies and drawings in place at that time.
Councillor Kingma?
Yeah, thank you for that, Aaron. That helps a lot. I appreciate that. I'm wondering, I imagine scenarios where the township may have to solicit expert advice to deem an application complete. Is this an irritant in any way?
Through Mayor Clark to Councillor Kingsma, it's certainly something that we are struggling a little bit with. We certainly are trying to figure out what the best approach is to deeming complete applications because, the township, we don't have the expertise within our staff to make some of these determinations. So we are, if we use Sprietz as our engineers, is there the requirement to submit the application to them first as like for an initial review to let them tell us if they have everything that they need to do the review. And of course that would come, with a cost to the township before we even receive a site plan application fee from the applicant themselves. So it is something that we are struggling with, trying to figure out, how much we front end and how much we do as part of the actual review process. But yes, it is a bit of a concern that way.
Thank you for that.
Okay, thank you. We also have on Zoom, Annika and perhaps Ralph Hahn. I'm wondering if you wanted to speak or ask any questions. You're on mute if you're trying to communicate. Any questions, Annika or Ralph?
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, we can, Annika.
Okay, thank you very much. And yes, we have brought an application forward. And I was very interested in hearing about the new process under the new Bill 109 that has been adopted. And I think my first process will be going through Arnie and Aaron to make sure we have all the information ready to bring forward to the council. We're looking at a shed dominium of approximately 15 plus square, 1,500 square feet to be added onto a current shed that we're hoping to improve on Mullaferry Road in the township of Adelaide. And I think we've just heard back from Arnie Marsman today that we'll reach out first to him. And thank you very much, Mayor Clark, for allowing me to speak to this.
Okay, thank you, Annika. So are there any other comments or questions? Seeing none, we have a recommendation that the official plan amendment number 15 to implement policies as a result of legislative changes through Bill 109 be adopted and forwarded to the County of Middlesex for consideration of approval. Can I have a mover? Moved by Councillor Kingma, seconded by Councillor McKinnon. All those in favor? And that's carried. Thank you. So now we need, we have a motion, a recommendation that council adjourn the public meeting at 7:44 PM and convene in regular session of council. Could I have a mover? Moved by Councillor Brody. Seconded by Councillor McKinnon. All those in favor? And that's carried. Thank you. Bye, Aaron. Thanks a lot. Have a good night. And Abby too, if you're still there. Okay, we're gonna jump down to 7L, and that'd be our public roads superintendent. Is that what you call yourself? Public Works Manager. Okay, the manager. Okay, so 7L sidewalk, fire hall, winter maintenance, 2022 to 2025. And an update from Coulter, please.
Yeah, thank you, Mayor Clark. This one's fairly straightforward. I did bring well, I didn't actually, I was off, but there was a report on the November 7th regular council meeting accepting the RFQ from Total Landscaping Maintenance, basically for winter maintenance on sidewalks and at the fire hall in Kerwood. Total Landscaping was offered this contract the day after the council meeting. And basically, after submitting this to their insurer, they did not want to cover them. So basically, after multiple phone calls and meetings with the contractor, we had to move forward and speak with county legal, basically to figure out the next steps. Since winter maintenance on sidewalks and at the fire hall is such a huge liability, we were forced to offer the contract to the next lowest bidder, which is Brad's Lawn Care. I will note that Brad's Lawn Care did take care of this contract for the last 2 winter seasons. I was really happy with their work. And under the special circumstances, we're again working with county legal, we were forced to execute this contract agreement before the next regular council meeting to ensure we were covered in the event of any winter precipitation. You will see attached the contract agreement. The financial impact basically is an extra $50 per snow event per section. That would be the only change from the last report. I will open it up for any questions from there. Other than that, my recommendation is below. Thank you.
Thank you, Coulter. Are there any questions or comments from council? I think you'll find that those prices are probably in line. Insurance has gone up significantly for a lot of these guys. And as you mentioned, the previous successful tender would their company wouldn't cover it. So under the joint and several liabilities, some of them don't want to take on municipalities for that reason. So if there's no questions, then we have a recommendation that council accept the tender submitted by Brad's Lawn Care at the cost of $350 plus HST per event for the Kerwood Fire Hall parking lot, $300 plus HST per event for the Kerwood sidewalks, $250 plus HST per event for Napperton Drive and Pike Road sidewalks, $250 plus HST per event for Center Road sidewalks, and $250 plus HST per event for Second Street sidewalks, subject to the submission of proof of insurance, hold harmless agreement, and WSIB certificate as recommended by the Public Works Manager. Could I have a mover for that? Moved by Councillor McKinnon, seconded by Councillor Kingma. All those in favor? And that's carried. Thank you. Okay, Coulter, the next one's yours too. 7M, the tandem snowplow tender results.
Yeah, thank you again, Mayor Clark. This report, as Mayor mentioned, is on the new snowplow purchase. In 2022 budget, council approved the purchase of a new tandem snowplow to replace one of our current units. The tender went out on November 21st and it closed on December 5th. Just got ahead of myself here. A successful bidder for one new 2023 tandem truck chassis with dump and a spreader body with snowplow harness was Premier Truck Group London, offering a Freightliner based on the lowest price per unit. There is attachment there with the results. I will mention I did reach out to other vendors, and most vendors couldn't come up with a date to deliver a vehicle to us, so I was happy to see two. And I will note that one vendor forgot to put in their tender, so I got their pricing after just for fun basically, and they were higher, so that's just food for thought. This tandem snowplow was spec'd out almost identical to the previous tandem purchase in 2018. That was a Mack. Delivery for this unit was estimated at 38 weeks. After we receive the chassis, it will be delivered to Viking in Mount Forest, Ontario, to be equipped with the snowplow equipment. And that process is estimated to be about 10 to 12 weeks. The township should expect final delivery of the unit right around the 1st of December in 2023. After receiving the new unit, we will declare one of our snowplow units surplus to stay at 4 tandem trucks in our fleet. It will be the recommendation to sell a surplus unit through auction on gov deals when the time comes. Financial impact, based on the bids received, the total cost before HST was $357,290. From a budget perspective, we're under the budget amount of $400,000 by $42,710 before HST. I will note that payment for the new snowplow will be based on delivery. Therefore, this will carry forward capital project in 2023. 2022 funds will be placed into reserves and applied against the 2023 budget, resulting in a zero impact to the 2023 budget. I will open up for any questions, and the recommendation is below. Thank you.
Thank you, Coulter. Are there any questions or comments from council? Seeing none, we have a recommendation that council approve the tender received from PTG Mississauga Limited Partnerships for the supply of one new 2023 Freightliner tandem truck chassis with a dump spreader body and snowplow harness in the amount of $357,290 plus HST. A move by Councillor Nordoff, seconded by Councillor Kingma. All those in favor? And that's carried. Thank you. Okay, and your last report, Coulter 7N, Mullaferry Drive budget input discussion, last but not least.
Thank you, Mayor Clark.
Colt, if you don't mind, can I just,
Go ahead, Morgan.
so around here, we don't like to just slap paint on the wall and call a room renovated. We like to tear it right down the studs and build from the ground up. So when I say that, there are other options that could have been included in this report, including probably the most unpopular one, which would be to turn into a gravel road for cost savings and changes like that. But in speaking with staff, looking at how the community uses this road and wishes to use the road well into the future, listening to council's perspective, what we really brought is a couple options that Colt will take you through that best align with everything that we've heard. So I just wanted to provide some preamble because there are, of course, other options to consider, but these were the best ones given what we had at the time.
Oh, thank you, Morgan. Absolutely, I'm going to take you through all the options here, and this may sound a little bit long and drawn out, but I want to make sure you guys have all the information. So, Mullaferry Drive has been a very hot topic, as we all know, over the last few years, and more specifically the section from Pike Road to Kerwood Road. Staff have received a number of concerns regarding the road surface, road width, shoulders, drainage, and trees along this 7.3 kilometer span. Over the years, machinery has changed significantly, and we are seeing a massive increase in large agricultural vehicles accompanied with a lot heavier loads. This is quite a change from machinery 25, 30 years ago. The township undertook a pavement condition assessment in 2021 that resulted in a pavement condition index. I'm gonna go ahead of myself on the page here. A PCI of 33 between Kerwood Road and Brown Road, and the highest PCI was 63 between School Road and Pike Road. In 2020, Middlesex County assumed Mullaferry Drive from Pike Road to Center Road and all of Pike Road as part of the 5-year county road and bridge assumption study. Unfortunately, in speaking with the county engineer, we may not see consideration given to a future road assumption of Mullaferry Drive from Pike Road to Kerwood Road for many years. With average daily traffic counts that are over double what Mulla Ferry Drive in Adelaide Metcalfe is seeing. And a PCI score a lot less than our portion. Middlesex County is aiming to reconstruct Mulla Ferry Drive from Center Road to Pike Road and Pike Road from Mulla Ferry Drive to Napperton Drive in 2023. While the county reconstructs Mulla Ferry and Pike, we are left with minimal options for traffic control when it comes to detours and access roads to the commercial corridor if we were to reconstruct our portion of Mulla Ferry Drive at the same time. However, this doesn't necessarily mean we can't start our reconstruction in 2023. It just means that we will have some additional challenges to overcome. After multiple meetings throughout 2022 in terms of design and how to solution this challenge to construct a safer and more reliable road for township residents and visitors, we have come up with a couple of options for council to consider, both of which come with different price tags. Option one, as you can see, is estimated at $3 million for the total project. It's a multi-year project in collaboration with Middlesex County. Basically, we would retain Middlesex County staff to survey, design and design Mulla Ferry Drive from Pike Road to Kerwood Road in the spring of 2023, while their portion of Mulla Ferry Drive is being reconstructed. After the design survey stage, in collaboration with Middlesex County, we can start reconstruction by replacing road crossing culverts, tree removal, and install catch basins and drainage tile in areas that have been problem areas for some time. By doing this, it will allow the cross culverts to settle over the 2023-2024 winter and allow us to start total reconstruction in spring of 2024, working with Middlesex County's team. The end result being in a 7.5 meter paved road surface with a gravel shoulder 1 to 1.5 meters wide. And all new ditching and drainage. One lift of asphalt in the fall of 2024 and another lift in the spring of 2025. By doing two separate lifts of asphalt, it will increase the integrity and lifespan of this surface. Option two comes at a price tag of $3.6 million. That is just an estimate. It's give or take for sure. We would have to retain an engineering firm to survey and design Mulla Ferry Drive from Pike Road to Kerwood Road over the next 4 months and start tendering out the project in pieces, manage the project in-house with a start date of spring 2023. This approach will still end up being a multi-year project with one lift of asphalt in the fall of 2023 and the final lift in the spring of 2024. If this were to be the option council chose, it will be very difficult to manage traffic when it comes to detours and access routes to and from the commercial corridor. It is staff's recommendation for council to consider option one as part of the 2023 draft budget process, as it spreads the significant cost impact across multiple years in an effort to balance tax rate increases. As well, it allows our roads team to complete the culvert work in 2023 while the county completes its work along Mulla Ferry and Pike, which limits traffic control challenges. This also allows us to realize some cost savings and leveraging the county's team to complete the necessary road work. The financial impact, staff has been seeing sorry, it's a long report. Just give me a second. I hate, yeah, I know, I hate reading it, but I think we got to hear it all. Staff has seen significant inflationary pressures in 2022, and this project is no exception. The rising cost of goods, supply chain issues, fuel costs, and other factors outside our control all contribute to the rising costs of this project. Option one, this option provides the township significant cost savings compared to option two, as we can reduce the overall project cost by $600,000 by using Middlesex County. The county is able to provide favorable rates as the county works in a cost recovery framework, unlike a private contractor where they have to ensure the project is profitable for their businesses. Since option one is a multi-year project, some work will begin in 2023 to prepare for the entire project in 2024. We can expect up to $250,000 in works for the design, survey, and culvert drainage work for 2023. By utilizing option one, the township is able to raise capital funding in 2023 and contribute to the life cycle management reserve fund. In addition, due to the higher interest rates, the township can leverage the newly approved investment policy to ensure a greater return on funds in this reserve, as less would be spent in 2023. This increased return would have a direct impact to the 2023 tax rate, as interest earnings would decrease, the amount of the township would have to contribute to meet the contribution to target per the asset management plan. This is Johnny's new ones. Option 2, this option is estimated at $3.6 million over the course of 2 years, with the majority of the costs coming in 2023. Roughly 2.8 million in 2023 and 800,000 in 2024. This option is $600,000 more than option number 1. It also removes our ability to further save for this major project in 2023 and eliminates a significant investment opportunity, which would have a direct impact on the 2023 tax rate. In order to meet the reserve funding target outlined in the asset management plan, more would have to be funded by the tax base in 2023, as less would be coming from investment income. Sorry for reading all that, but I want to make sure everybody knew all the options.
No, that's okay. It's a lot of information. I appreciate that.
Absolutely. I will open up for questions, and my recommendation is below.
Are there any questions from council? It was a fairly comprehensive report. Councillor Brody?
Through Sue to folder, basically. So this will, so the work in 2023 would be minor. Basically, it'd be prep work that we plan on trying to do most of ourselves, right? Which is going to help with cost. I do like the idea of collaborating with Middlesex County. They have the resources. Why don't we? It makes most sense to utilize it. So the majority of the work is 2024, correct? And then 2025 is basically just a. I think we're all in agreement. This is probably the worst road we've got right now. I mean, by far. The rest of our roads are in pretty decent shape. I know this is a lot of money, but I think this project has been a while coming. I like the option 1 compared to 2. Is my opinion as well.
Any other comments or questions? Councillor Kingma?
Yeah, I'm in complete agreement with Councillor Brody. It's very well worth it to kind of piggyback on the county's efforts, and I think we'll manage the tax base a lot more favorably in this manner. Thanks.
Yeah, I think it's important to always look for cost saving and cost sharing opportunities, and this is a perfect example of that. So, all right, we have a recommendation before us that council direct staff to prepare the 2023 budget with option 1 as the preferred option to be brought back to council as part of the draft 2023 budget process for council's consideration. Could I have a mover for that? Moved by Councillor Nordoff, seconded by Councillor Brody. All those in favor? And that's carried. Thank you. Okay, thanks, Coulter. That was a heavy load there. The next one up is Chief Dan Parker, 7.0, I guess that is MNO. Yeah. Take it away.
Thank you, Mayor Clark. Through you to council. Current volunteer firefighters are required to have different uniforms for various purposes. Station uniforms are more informal and worn for fire prevention visits and in-class training. Dress uniforms are more formal attire that are required for funerals and other services such as Remembrance Day and formal awards nights events. Both uniforms bring a professional look to the department as a whole. Previously, volunteer firefighters were responsible for paying for these 2 sets of uniforms. Firefighters paid out of pocket for 1/2 the cost, and the other was covered by the Kerwood Firefighters Association through fundraising and some donations. Adelaide Metcalfe volunteer firefighters recently purchased new station and dress uniforms for the department. The appointment of 5 new recruits necessitated the purchase of these new uniforms. It should also be noted that updated uniforms were required for existing members. The department was due for a refit due to promotions and sizing issues. The uniforms were last updated approximately 5 years ago, and This latest fitting will bring the department up to standard for the next 10. The Kerwood Firefighters Association is requesting the support of the township to cover these costs. As in the past, the association is able to pay for half of the costs through fundraising efforts. And the request is being made of the township to cover the other half of the uniform costs, which personally been covered by each individual volunteer firefighter. Financial impact, approximate cost of the uniforms for the volunteer department is $12,000. Based on cost savings throughout the year, the township does have the capacity within the fire department budget to take on 50% of the costs normally paid by the volunteer firefighters. Therefore, the approximate budget impact will be $6,000 and remaining $6,000 will be paid by the association. Future costs related to uniforms will be addressed in the annual budget exercise for council's consideration. The recommendation that council approve the contribution of 50% or approximately $6,000 for the purchase of firefighters' uniforms.
Okay, thank you, Chief Parker. Any questions for the chief? Seeing none, we have a recommendation that council approve a contribution of 50% or approximately $6,000 for the purchase of firefighter uniforms. Could I have a mover for that? Moved by Councillor Kingma, seconded by Councillor Nordoff. All those in favor? And that's carried. Thank you. I think that's the least we can do for the fire department. And the next one up is 7P, and we've got Chief Parker and Morgan Calvert, if you want to start. Fire Services Review and Community Risk Assessment Procurement.
Thank you, Madam Mayor, and Chief, if okay, I'll take a lead and fill in any blanks if I black out over here, but so I have to say, absolutely, this is not an exercise to put the fire department under a microscope. I constantly hear the great work that the fire department is doing under the past Chief Nordoff, his leadership, and now Chief Parker's leadership. This is a great team. There's no doubt about it. Essentially what we've seen is some growth and new development, particularly around our commercial corridor, some new uses that we haven't been used to here in the township. So it's really time to take a look at our fire service department, what those uses are, and what we anticipate to see along the commercial corridor and in some of our residential areas as well. So a couple of things that need to be done. Originally, we planned for just a fire services review, but going through the process, we understood that an updated community risk assessment was absolutely necessary to complete a good fire services review. So we tacked on the community risk assessment as part of the procurement process. We released an RFP. We had two really good firms respond. The evaluation committee, consisting of Mr. Barnier, Chief Parker, and I got together, evaluated the two proposals, and came down to, let me find the name here. Emergency Services Strategy and Solutions, Inc. as the recommendation to Township Council. The staff report recommendation is for council to approve the procurement process and to further a contract for services with ESSSI and bring back the contract to council likely in January, early February. Outside of that, if there's any questions, happy to answer them. If they're fire related, I'm sure Chief Parker's got them.
Are there any questions for the chief or for CAO Morgan? Seeing none, we have a oh, sorry, I didn't see you there. Sorry,
I just have
Counselor.
a comment. I think this is good, just because of where we are with the or part of anyway, where we are with the service agreement with Strathroy. So this will give us a third party's look at where we are and where we should be. So I think it's a good thing.
It's a good comment. Thank you. Anyone else? Okay. Seeing none, we have a recommendation that the proposal for ESSI or Emergency Services Strategy and Solutions, Inc. be approved and receive pre-budget approval. Further, that $20,000 be funded from the carry forward operating reserve and $15,978 before HST be funded by the Modernization Reserve Fund before HST. Further, that council direct the chief administrative officer to develop a contract for services with Emergency Services Strategy Solutions, Inc., and the contract for services be presented at a subsequent meeting of council. Could I have a mover for that? Moved by Councillor McKinnon, seconded by Councillor Nordoff. All those in favor? And that's carried. Thank you. So that completes the part of the staff reports, and I now need a motion. It is 8:09 to go into closed session. And that is pursuant to section 239(2) of the Municipal Act 2001 as amended, to discuss the following matters. Litigation or potential litigation, including matters before administrative tribunals affecting the municipality or local board, the servicing agreement between Adelaide Metcalfe and Strathroy Caradoc. Advice that is subject to solicitor counsel privilege, including communications necessary for that purpose, an insurance claim, and personal matters about an identifiable individual, including municipal or local board employees, and HR direction will be required. So could I have a mover for that? Moved by Councillor Kingma, seconded by Councillor Brody. All those in favor? And that's carried. We are now in closed session.